at me, and I was trying to get through to him. I was trying to say to him in some way that it was me. I was trying to get through to Johnny, and I couldn't see him. I couldn't see him at all. And my head was bashing against the back of the bar, and I couldn't breathe. And I remember trying to get up, and I was slipping on the glass. My feet were slipping, my arms were slipping on the countertops. And I remember just trying to get up so I could breathe, so I could tell him that he was really hurting me. I didn't think he knew what he was doing. I don't know how. Sorry. I'm sorry. I couldn't breathe. Please. I don't know. Please, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't get through to him. I couldn't get up. I couldn't get up. And I don't know how that ended. I don't know how. I don't know what happened next. I don't want to do this. The next thing I remember, I was bent over backwards on the bar, meaning my chest was up. I was staring at the blue lights, and my chest was on this, my back was on the countertops, and I thought he was punching me. I thought he was I'm sorry. I felt this pressure. He held my pubic bone, and he thought he was punching me. I just saw his arm. I could feel his arm moving, and it looked like he was punching me. But I could just feel this pressure. It was like it kept hitting me. It didn't feel pain. It was just a pressure on my pubic bone, and I don't know. I don't remember what I said. I just remember being really still, not wanting to move. I remember looking around the room. I remember looking at all the broken bottles, broken glass. And I remember just not wanting to move because I didn't know if it was broken. I didn't know if the bottle that he had inside me was broken. I couldn't feel it. I couldn't feel it. I didn't feel pain. I didn't feel pain. I didn't feel anything. I didn't want it. I looked around and I saw so much broken glass that I didn't know if he would know. If he would know, I didn't know if he would know if it was broken or not. And I just remember thinking, please God, please, I hope it's not broken. I don't know how that ended. I don't know how I got off the countertop. I just remember it being in the bathroom. I remember retching. I remember the sound my voice was making. I remember I lost control of my bladder. I remember just retching. I remember there was blood on the floor. I got up at some point. I don't know how that night ended. I don't remember what happened. I don't remember. I have a memory of him begging me not to leave. I remember going outside the front door. I remember him coming out to the front area, but I don't remember if that was before or after this. I don't remember. I just have that memory. I remember taking a bunch of sleeping pills. Not a bunch, like 2, which is a lot for me. I remember falling asleep, or I don't remember falling asleep, but I know I fell asleep because I woke up the next day. I assume it was late morning. I could hear him downstairs. I could hear Marilyn Manson music, not in person. I could hear the music. Maybe he said it was Marilyn, or maybe I could recognize it. I don't remember, but I became aware of it. That's what I was hearing. It was blaring. It became clear, obvious to me when I walked downstairs. He was still up. He hadn't gone to sleep again. I walked downstairs and I saw this brown on the walls going down the stairs. And the brown on the walls became clear, like it became clearer, like lettering. And then it was obvious it was dried blood. He had written down this, that we had a spiral staircase, like white cream walls. There was blood on the carpet. I could see blood drips. I thought it was from my arms or feet, but it was drips. So that plus the wall writing, I saw this brown letters on the wall, and then realized that he was trying, that it was meant to be a message, but it was incoherent. I saw what looked like my name, but I really couldn't make out most of the rest of the message. Walking down the stairs, I saw a bird in the house. I thought that was surreal. I went down to the main level where my painting studio was, and I had some canvases out. It was in the living room area. And by the time I got down to the bottom of the stairs, the dried blood had been kind of taken over by paint. It was blue, navy blue paint, and then brown paint. And then it was, on the walls, on the lampshades, pillowcases of the sofa cushions. There was blood in the painting studio. My canvases had been covered with what looked like just brown, blue, green, red mess. It was just a mess. There was a painting that had, a painting that the owners had that had, like giant penis on it, and, some other things. There was a table overturned, a bunch of broken glass on that floor. I walked downstairs where I heard the music coming from, and that's where I found him, blaring this music. He was in the study, which is by the bar. games table area off to the side, and it was just glass and blood and broken window, and just, it looked like a mess. The table was collapsed, and I walked into the study. There was a couple unbroken empty bottles. I remember wondering where they came from. And he just looked, he wasn't there anymore. He wasn't there. It wasn't Johnny. He was standing at the office desk. He had his hand wrapped in this, like, rags, or, bandana rags. And I think he took them down or somehow showed me, and he said, "Look what you made me do. I did this for you," something to that effect. And I kind of put together, it was covered in paint, and I put together that that's like he was using his finger. I quickly became aware that that's what he was using as a paintbrush, even though there was lots of paintbrushes around. And we didn't have any sort of like coherent conversation, as you can imagine. I figured out he was missing a finger. He kind of held it up, and I said, "What did you do? When? Like, what did you do? When?" And I realized in my head that there had been many hours since this probably happened, assuming that that was happened with the phone. In any case, I knew it had been way too long, that he had had this blood, that he was bleeding, and I said, "I'm going to call 911 if you don't call Jerry now." I still don't recall which of us called Jerry Judge, his security. At some point we went upstairs. He came upstairs, but he went up to the third floor while I was in the main floor, the entry-level floor. I went to make him a cup of coffee because he was demanding more Red Bull. And I was thinking, that's probably not a good idea. I don't know why coffee would be so much better, but in my head it was. I thought maybe, I don't know, sober him up, or I don't know. Help was coming though. And I remember I made him coffee. As soon as I handed it to him, he threw it at the TV and started screaming again. It was like back to square one. Shortly after that, security arrives. I don't know how long, maybe a few seconds or minutes went by, not long, but they kind of find Johnny, or Johnny finds them walking out of the front door, and they were trying to figure out what was going on. And as they were kind of looking at him and trying to figure out what the heck was going on, Johnny took his penis out of his pants and started trying to pee or peeing outside of the house, saying that he had more messages for me. And this is in front of security. And they kind of just like looked at each other and looked at him and kind of not laughed, but kind of half, played it off and corralled him. It was how it looked. It looked like corralling a wild animal back into the house with his penis still out of his pants, peeing or trying to pee. That's what he was indicating. And he went to the wall of the house, and I remember him standing at the wall trying to leave me more, saying he had more information for me. He was gonna leave me more messages, more information for me. It made no sense. And Jerry Judge, his security, and one of the nurses, shortly after, I think they put me in the theater room, but shortly after, I remember talking to one of the nurses, and she was trying to give me drugs to sedate me.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
Trying to give her drugs. She didn't say anything. Thank you. Keep going.
And I just remember crying and rejecting what they were trying to give me, and fighting with them about how much they were trying to give me. I felt like I needed to figure out what was happening with my life, what was happening with Johnny. I didn't know if he was okay. I didn't know. I had no idea, like, could this be something he could die from? If anything, just the drugs and the alcohol. I mean, that alone, I didn't, you know, I just remember being scared and being in this theater room, this dark theater room, and not knowing what the heck was going on. I eventually was taken up to my room by one of the nurses, and I'm sorry, Debbie, and or suggesting I go up to my room. I went up to my room, and I took a quarter of what she was trying to get me to take, and I eventually fell asleep. I came back downstairs to look for my phone, which Johnny had picked up before security came in. He picked up my phone and said, "We're going to get to the bottom of this." He wasn't making any sense at the time. Understandably, just different. Nothing made sense. But he picked up my phone and was saying, I'm going to prove this. We're going to get to this. We're going to get to the proof of this. Something to that effect. I don't remember his exact words. And he pushed record on my phone. I didn't actually at the time think that he had done that. I had no idea, but I did know that I didn't have my phone when I woke up and went downstairs to get it. It was dead. It was sitting out on the dining room table by where Jerry Judge was sitting. Jerry Judge was on the phone and talked to me, and I went back up to bed, took more of this sedative, and fell asleep. And then I think the next day, went to the closet and took out the clothes that he hadn't painted on. I guess when he went back upstairs, he had just like, it looked like what he had done is dip his hand in a bucket of paint and just wiped it on my clothes. Just went, and he had picked up another portion of my clothes and put them in the bathtub. And I don't know if he added paint or if he just had touched them with paint, but it was this ugly navy blue brown paint. I packed what was packable, what hadn't been destroyed, and eventually left Australia with Ben King, who you met on the way there.
And let me stop you there because I want to ask you some more questions about those 3 days, and then we can talk about Ben King and going home. So, do you recall what bottle Mr. Depp was drinking from and then had that back and forth with you and you threw on the ground?
Objection, Your Honor. Compound leading.
Sustained.
Do you recall what the bottle was?
No, I don't.
Okay. Do you recall whether it was wine or liquor?
It was liquor. The wine was upstairs.
Okay. Do you recall
Excuse me.
what color
Excuse me.
it was?
Well, I believe it was white, or I mean clear, but I can't be certain. I think it was clear.
Remember whether it had a handle on it or not?
No, it was a normal bottle. I remember because he was holding it like this and gestured to me to take it. And I did try to reach for the bottle. It was a normal size, but for life of me, I can't remember like what brand.
Okay. When you woke up that third morning and came out of your room, what, if any, food did you see?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Objection, Your Honor. Leading.
Overruled. There was mashed potatoes smeared all over the bedroom door, on the wall, in various places. But I remember opening the door and being really confused at first as to what it was. Had little like specks of green in it, I assumed to be spinach. And throughout the house, there was food rubbed in places, just countertops, walls, doors, as I mentioned. And later that evening, I found the raw meat that I had left out, the steak, all over the house. There were pieces of it. It was cut up. And he had ripped my nightgown into pieces, into shreds, and wrapped the meat up, like wrapped the steak pieces up with my nightgown. It was this really beautiful burgundy silk nightgown that had this black lace trim. I ironically got it from Dr. Kipper for a wedding gift. And it was wrapped, I continued to find it throughout the rest of the time that I was in the house in Australia. There's pieces of it in the microwave, pieces of it in the produce drawer, in the closet drawer. Just raw meat wrapped up in my nightgown, as well as the smeared food on the walls. It was bizarre.
What, if anything, do you recall seeing on any mirrors?
Oh, he had written on the bathroom mirrors in the bedroom, and I believe he had, there was another mirror. I just don't recall which bathroom it was in. I suppose it was the one that I went to, which is on the very bottom level, where I was retching, for lack of a better way to describe it. I think it was in that bathroom that he also wrote on that mirror as well.
What, if anything, do you recall?
In blood and paint, sorry.
I'm sorry. What, if anything, do you recall of any lampshades being written on?
Well, he wrote on messages to me, things to the effect of go-getter, horror sort of thing, that sort of language, but calling me easy, calling me a slut, calling me, just things about ego and what a whore I was. But it was hard to make sense of it because it was clear he was just out of his mind. It was, he wrote on a back of a pillow in blood, and you can tell because it dries like in this ugly brown color. He wrote on the walls going downstairs. Like it took in fact, you could see where it looked like he had run out of blood because the messages became, the markings became clearly letters, and the letters kind of became, like I could see where he had clearly run out of blood or it wasn't bleeding enough and went and got paint. And then it became paint and blood. You could see both. You could see where he went back with it. Same with the mirrors. I could see where all the dried blood was, and then I could see a different set of markings with paint and some other material.
So I'm going to go back to the time in the bar, and I know this is very painful. Do you recall what Mr. Depp was saying to you when he had the bottle and was pushing it against your pubic bone?
He said that he would fucking kill me. I'll fucking kill you. He said it to me over and over again. He said, I'll fucking kill you.
Did you bleed from the vagina as well?
I did.
And did you experience any pain later?
I wasn't thinking about that. I was heartbroken. Eventually, I realized that I could be hurt because I was bleeding. But I convinced myself it wasn't broken, and that the bottle wasn't broken, or else it would be a lot worse. And the discomfort I was feeling afterwards just paled in comparison to how scared, shocked I was. I'm scared. I just married this man. I just married him.
And forgive me for asking this, but I need to just make sure the record's clear. You were penetrated up the vagina into the pubic bone, is that correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Leading.
Sustained.
What, if any, penetration was there in your vagina? With the bottle. I'm so sorry.
Do that.
I am so sorry.
Johnny had the bottle inside of me. And was shoving it inside of me over and over again.
Did you experience any cuts on other parts of your body?
My forearms were cut. My bottoms of my feet were sliced up pretty good.
Did you have any other bruising or swelling?
I had a bruise across my jaw, I suppose, from one of the many times he clocked me in the face downstairs. I think I just didn't make a record of anything else.
I'm going to ask you to turn to let's go to 1810. Well, actually, let's go to 1815. Michelle, if you can bring that up. Defendants 1815. And I think these are all in, Your Honor, so if we could publish.
Yes, they can all be published.
Is this the game table?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And is this, based on your testimony, is this where you were you on top of this table?
Yeah, that he briefly got on top of me, and was pushing on my throat, actually, at some point when I was on the table. I had forgotten about that. And this, though, looks like it is after a lot of the stuff was cleaned up, because it didn't look quite like this.
Okay. And did the table collapse?
Yes, it did.
Objection, Your Honor. Leading.
Sustained.
What, if anything, happened to the table?
The table collapsed underneath me when Johnny threw me into it and got on top of me, or fell on top of me. I honestly don't know which one.
We could look at 1816, please, defendants. Do you recognize this, what's depicted in this picture?
Yes,
What is it?
it looks like the bottles that were by Johnny on the desk when I came down that last morning, and he was still up, still drinking.
If we could go to defendants 1817.
The bottle shape. The bottle shape.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I don't, I have not,
Go back to 1816, please.
Your Honor,
I had,
confused. Is there a question?
I guess you would ask a question.
What more do you recall?
Sorry, it took me a minute to respond because it's hard. It took me a minute to respond because I had not remembered seeing the bottle that Johnny was using on me. I didn't have a memory of seeing it. And this picture, I wasn't aware of until just the other day, yesterday, the day before. and I felt my stomach tighten up, like I was going to be sick when I saw it. Because even though I didn't remember seeing the bottle, what I had remembered is a pressure, like something square, which is why I thought he was punching me. I was feeling the square, something firm hitting me, like butting up against my pubic bone. Over and over again, I felt that pressure against my bone. It felt like a flat surface. But when I realized it was an object or a bottle and not his fist, which is what I thought, because his arm, I could see his arm while he was holding me down, saying he was going to kill me, but I thought it was, his arm looked like he was punching me. And I hadn't seen this bottle. I didn't know. And then this came out in Ben's evidence because he didn't share it until this date.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
And so I recognize it.
All right, now let's go to defendants 1817. Do you recognize this area or this picture?
Yes, it looks like one area of the bar. Obviously, this is sometime later because all the liquid is dried up. It's quite slippery. I was slipping all over that tile, that's how I know.
Okay.
Looks like a lot of the glass has been cleaned up almost.
Okay. And then let's go to 1818. Actually, I think
I'm
that's...
sorry, which,
Yeah, I don't have that
that's
number.
not in evidence.
Yeah, and that's a duplicate. Let's go to 1819. My apologies.
Okay.
Do you recognize this?
Yes, I do.
What is this?
This is close to where my feet were when I was dangling off the counter. When he had me on the countertop by my neck. My feet were slipping on the tile, and I just remember my feet. I remember feeling glass underneath my feet and slipping. I couldn't get up. I couldn't alleviate the pressure on my neck as he was crushing me. That's around that, not around, that's next to that. All the way at the end of the picture is the bar where I was standing when he was throwing bottles at me.
Can we go to 1820? Do you recognize what's depicted here? The area.
Yes, that's to the left would be where the wall-mounted phone was. Right to the left of that. To the right of that is the little L-shaped bar that I was telling you about, where I was trapped and.
And when you say to the left of the wall, what do you
sorry.
mean? Is it off the picture or on the picture?
So if you're looking at this picture, imagine up and to the left at person height, at site height, was I don't know if it was antique, but it kind of looked old-fashioned, like an old-fashioned heavy. It looked heavy. I didn't pick up the receiver, but it looked heavy when I was watching it break. It looked like these really heavy glass. Excuse me. It's really thick, heavy, not plastic, but like a Bakelite or something heavy material on it. That's my best guess. So that would have been to the left, and then to the right would have been the very end of the bar that you just saw a picture of.
All right, let's go to 1821, defendants. And do you recognize what's depicted in this photo?
Yes, that's the bar that I was just talking about.
Okay. Now, I see a phone on the right side. Is that the phone you were talking about?
No, that's not. This is a wall-mounted phone. That's just a landline.